That was weird. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Square State Sandlot. That was quite the intro there. We are back. It's been a little
Technical
while.
difficulties.
Yes, been having all kinds of fun in just trying to get this to going live. But we do appreciate you guys tuning in, and it is great to be back. Great to see you, Kyle. Got tons of
Absolutely.
things to talk about, and we'll get right into it. But just a quick overview, we do want to talk about the MLB All Star Weekend. Some things going on in the NFL and the NBA with our team specifically and around the league. So, with that being said, we'll jump right back into it. So, Kyle, where you been?
Busy, busy,
Hopefully,
busy,
having fun.
man. It's been a pretty busy summer for us with Jack being born and things like that. Between the shift schedule I'm working and stuff, it's been hectic. But I mean, for the most part, it's been good. Enjoying time with the kiddo and the family. So, I mean, really, that's it. Work and busy with the kid, but luckily got to carve out some time tonight. So hopefully get back into being regular again.
Yes, as TMI as that sounds. Um,
I mean,
so
healthy's
yeah,
healthy, whatever.
yeah, we've been we've also been busy on our side finishing up the backyard, trying to get some traveling in and all that fun stuff with the boys, taking them out into nature, getting them out of the house, especially as hot as it's been the last few days. So. Uh, it's good to be back, and I'm excited to talk some baseball because we haven't in a while, and my
I know
A's
it's
are no
been
longer on pace for the worst record of all time, so that's good news.
you got to take a win where you can.
But I'm sure you probably tuned in at least a little bit to the Home Run Derby All Star Weekend. Did you catch those festivities, and what did you think of them?
I mean, I kind of poked my head in and seen who was winning and stuff. I only watched a few highlights of the home run derby. Um, as far as the All Star game, I absolutely tuned in. Um, I was thrilled, not only for my two pitchers that were in the All Star game, but Derek Shelton actually got to be the coach. Um, so it was pretty special having some guys that I didn't necessarily expect to have. But Mitch Keller's had an amazing, amazing season, regardless of our drop off here, middle of the season. Bednar, I thought deserved to go again, anyways. But Kershaw dropping out gave him the nod for the game, which was absolutely wonderful. And then Derek Shelton, I mean, some fans aren't a big fan of him, but honestly, what he's had to manage through is pretty terrible at times. So I have nothing but respect for the guy. So it's cool to see him get the nod as well. Um, and National League win, man. It's been a minute. So,
Yeah, first win for the
all in
National
all,
League
it's
since 2012.
yes, sir.
I was still
It's
in
been a minute.
college. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Starting to think it was never going to happen.
No, it's crazy how fast the Pirates fans have turned on the team. I mean, obviously, I don't want to say epic collapse because I think it's probably come back to more where everyone thought they were going to be at the start of the
We
season.
overachieved. Yeah, we overachieved early for sure.
But it always sucks coming back down to earth when you feel like you're on cloud nine. So um, definitely a tough stretch there for the Pirates. And now there's even rumors that they might flip McCutcheon to the Rangers. They're definitely interested in him. So that would be a blow to the city of
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, I think, but also obviously the team. So um, that would be terrible. And like I said, A's, I don't want to get too much into them just yet because I really want to highlight the All Star game and the Home Run Derby. I think it is
Definitely.
by far the best of the big four All Star weekends because you see the guys actually go out there and compete. They want to be there for the
Yeah.
most part. There's a couple guys that skipped out to be with their families or whatever, which is understandable. It's a long season, but um, the guys that were out there were absolutely competing. You could see them jawing back and forth from each dugout. Um, my guy Rook, he had a big double, almost
Yeah.
if that wouldn't have been a ground rule double, probably scores the runner from third. So good to see
Yeah,
him. It was I mean, he was our lone All-Star representative, and I think Ruiz probably could have been in there. He's having an absolutely stellar rookie season. Um,
I would agree.
but it's fair. I mean, he was injured anyway, so even if he had been selected, he probably would have opted out for the injury. He's on the IL currently, so but he's off to a blazing start. Most steals in a rookie season since the great Ricky Henderson, so that's pretty good.
Which he was pretty good, I think, if
Yeah,
I
I
remember
heard he was a
correctly.
decent player by the end of his
I think
career.
he
So
liked to steal also. I don't know,
yeah,
something.
and then just
That's
quickly,
just I just wanted to
home run
say on
derby.
that. I mean, that's well,
Oh,
I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna say for the steals. I mean, that's pretty special to even be mentioned in the same sentence as that man. So for it to be an A's player is kind of, I don't know, that extra little cherry on top. But I don't know. It's interesting when you start getting names linked to people like that. Granted, he's got a long way to go before he's obviously there, but pretty special.
Yep. And he's Estuary is, I mean, he's definitely one of my favorite players that we've had in a long time. So it's nice to see this young core forming, but there's still all the crap going on in the background with the A's that it's like, man, it feels dirty even talking about them until we get this whole situation figured out. But back to the home run derby, Julio Rodriguez put on an absolute show in his hometown. Obviously, he didn't end up winning it, but 41 in a round is the most that anyone's ever hit. And obviously, there's been changes to the format and whatnot, so you can't really compare it true apples to apples, but absolute show for him. Several good outings. Adley Rutschman, he hit like 21 from the left side and then switched to the right side for his
Yeah.
bonus round and hit like 7 more. Still got eliminated by, who was it? The guy from, was it Luis Robert? I can't remember the guy
Uh, yes.
from the White Sox. That sounds right. But
Yeah, that
anyway,
sounds right.
he gets eliminated, so that was unfortunate. But I mean, that was an absolute show for him, and that's a homecoming. I just love the home run derby. Love MLB All Star Weekend. Like I said, there's nothing else like it in the professional sports world, where you have the quote unquote skills competition of hitting dingers left and right.
Oh yeah.
There was the one unfortunate soul that they put
Oh
those kids
man.
out in the outfield, and
Ugh.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. was
Ugh.
hitting like 110-mile-an-hour piss missiles, and one of the kids caught one in the face. So that was
We'll see if
unfortunate.
we'll see if we got kiddos in the outfield next year.
Yeah,
That
I
was that
somehow
was
doubt it.
rough.
Well, it's funny because when he was hitting them, I was like, that's not safe to have kids out there when he's hitting those because he was like most of the guys, they're getting that launch angle where it's going up in the air and they have time to react to balls coming back down. But Vlad was just hitting
No, he's just smoking
literal
line drives out of
lasers,
there.
back and forth, and I was like, there was two right before that almost hit kids.
Right.
It glanced off their hand and went by their face, and I was like, they need to get those kids moved. And then, sure enough, a couple hits later, one of them gets smoked in the face. So that was unfortunate. But overall, absolute great weekend in Seattle. I wish I could have been there. One of these days, I'm going to get out there for an all-star event because those just look like so much fun. You got
Absolutely.
all the you know teammates and families there, and it just looks like a great time to be
Maybe one
at,
day
at a baseball game.
we will come to all of you live from the All Star game.
That's the dream right there.
I
But
like it.
I guess outside of that, there were some other events that happened there in Seattle. Manfred had a couple press conferences. Obviously, we had the draft that weekend as well. He had made a statement to the press that basically said that he wants to be the commissioner because he feels like he has the best job in the entire world. So that is going to come up to a vote, I think, in about 6 months, something around that time frame. I think he's been doing a pretty awful job, both in
Yeah.
press relations and anything like that. He's also bungled the handling of the Oakland Las Vegas move. I really don't think he deserves to continue being commissioner. And I will highlight some things that he's done well. And I think the rule changes have attracted a lot of fans that had checked out from the game of baseball with the pitch clock and things like that. So I will give him props on that. But I think that's more, the rules committee doing those. He's just, the head that takes all the credit for it. So in most major aspects, I think he's hurting the game more than he's helping it. And the unfortunate thing is, because he's making these owners millions of dollars and being the public punching bag for them, I'm almost certain he's going to be reinstated as commissioner for another term. I can't remember how long those go for, but it's too long, whatever it is, because we need Uncle Robbie out of the sport of baseball. We really do.
Yes. I'm actually glad you pointed that out, because when I first started looking at this, that's the first thing I thought of. As I was like, well, some of the changes have been extremely beneficial. I mean, as far as just getting another generation into baseball, things like that, the game is obviously more exciting. But then again, I started to think more and more about that, and is it really his doing? So I kind of took that off the table. And then, as far as I'm concerned, on every other facet of being a commissioner, he has come up short, if not just absolutely fell off a cliff. I would like to see some fresh blood in there. I don't know. I think there needs to be some new blood.
Well, and the
But you're
sad thing
probably
is,
right.
I mean, even if they do replace him, it's probably going to be someone just like him, a lawyer that can face the public pressure and take it off of the owners. So ultimately, that's the job of the commissioner, is making the owners that they talk for money and protecting them from the media, essentially. So it doesn't really matter who. It's going to be a puppet one way or another.
It's one thing that I laugh about nowadays as far as commissioners. I mean, because if you look in the past, back in the day, commissioners were selected because of their almost their ability to not do what the owners wanted. They were to represent the league as opposed to representing the owners. And we've gotten so far away from that, because really that's all they are, is a representative for the owners, a lawyer for the owners. And it's just crazy to me how far we've fallen from that, because that's kind of what kept the league, I don't know, almost checks and balanced, so to speak. And now it's just, I mean, money talks, man, and it's unfortunate. And you're right. If he did get replaced, it would be somebody probably from his staff anyways, if not in the same,
he was
from the same cloth.
Yeah, he was Bud Selig, the previous commissioner's right-hand man, and I mean, that just kind of tends to be how it goes. So it's unfortunate, and really, I mean, letting in all the gambling money and all that stuff has just made it even worse. So I think the best commissioner is probably Adam Silver. He's the most liked, and even he is, still looking out for the interest of the owners at the end of the day. So, but speaking of the commissioner, we'll get off that topic, sort of. The mayor of Oakland, I always forget her name, Miss Tao, I think is how you pronounce it. She flew out to Seattle, basically under secrecy. She didn't want to be the story of the weekend or whatever. She wanted to let the baseball happen. But she had a private meeting with the commissioner to set the facts straight on what was actually offered in Oakland, because as recently as I think it was June 15th, the commissioner got out in front of the press and said there was no offer in Oakland. What do you want them to do? In talking about John Fisher. And so she went there to set the record straight, basically gave the entire offer details, and said, in fact, since then, we've actually got more grant money from the federal government to make these infrastructures. So our offer has been getting better since they ran off to Las Vegas, but we're no longer at the table with them because we don't want to serve as leverage for them. So as soon as they're willing to come back to the table, we have more money to offer for this project. And, had they just wanted a 9 million, or a 9-acre stadium, it could have already been built on the Coliseum site. So because we're comparing apples to oranges, she didn't feel like it was being portrayed through the media fairly at all.
And it wasn't.
No, it really wasn't. And I don't think so. During this entire negotiation process, the mayor and her team was told to only speak directly to the A's and do not talk to the commissioner. So I don't think the commissioner was actually informed. He was only getting the A's side of the story. So I think this was at least a bit enlightening for him. And he said that he would pass on. They actually provided 30 pamphlets of this information, including for John Fisher, and wanted it to be distributed to all the owners.
Oh man.
Rob Manfred did say that he would distribute this to the relocation committee, the 3 owners that are overseeing that. But then on Tuesday, he basically said he doubled down on his take that it's 100% the city of Oakland's fault and whatnot through the media. So I really don't know what's going on in there, but it seems like there's some kind of backdoor dealing going on in Las Vegas where maybe we're only seeing the public side of the handouts. Maybe they've got some backdoor deals with some casino families or whatever to get the A's to Oakland that we're not getting to see in the public. So we'll see what's going on with that. But quickly moving on from that, what did you think about your Pirates draft? I know that happened. Well, they had first round on Sunday, and then maybe it was Monday. I can't remember what days it was, but recently they had the MLB draft.
Me and you talked a little bit about it off air. I thought it was very promising as a Pirates fan. And I mean, Pirates fans are a fickle creature.
Yes, they are.
They will find a reason to not like just about anything. But going with Paul Skeens, to me, and it's like I told you, I took that as a very promising sign because in years past, we would have selected someone else just for a smaller payout.
Yep.
I mean, we took the guy. We took the number one guy as far as I'm concerned, and also the fact that he's a pitcher. I think it speaks volumes for where we're at on this rebuild. Basically, that we're coming out of the rebuild and we're trying to turn the corner and we're trying to win now. I mean, they're talking about him coming up as soon as this year. Is that necessarily going to happen? I don't know. I mean,
not a chance.
Right. But the fact that we're going after a player like this who has, I mean, who knows when they make the jump to the big leagues, but he has the potential to be an ace. He very well could step in and be our number 1, number 2 guy when he does make it up there. I mean, he's got the tools, he's got the skill set. We very easily could have gone many different directions for less money, and gone for something that we could have packaged to another team, which is what we've done in the past. I really think this speaks volumes for where we're at. And if you're really following this team day in, day out, if you're not excited about that pick, then, I mean, nothing's ever going to please you. I mean, the kid's got stuff, and I mean, the mustache to boot, I'll take it all day.
Well,
no, I was just excited. I think it says what we're basically forming that identity now. This is what we want to be. This is what we want to do. And Sherrington's, I think he's doing an amazing job, regardless of what owner he has. I don't know. I'm excited.
Regardless of what Pirates Twitter says.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's it. I think our pitching staff is one of our biggest Achilles heels because don't get me wrong, our bats have gone dormant at times this year, but oftentimes it's our pitching that's let us give up some pretty big leads. And that's been a big part of our fall as far as our record. So if we can get a full stable of good pitchers, I mean, that's a game changer for us. So I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled.
That's fair. And I really don't think you could have gone wrong with either of those LSU teammates. No. Cruz I think he was my favorite just because I feel like he's the more certain. Just because you don't really know with any of these prospects, but when it comes to pitchers, especially the hard throwing ones, they tend to run into elbow issues and all that, especially if they played a ton in college. And I think he's only a junior, but I mean, that's 2 extra years of throwing before he even gets into the majors. So I think the absolute earliest you'll see him is next May. So they don't.
I honestly don't even think we'll see him then. But
no, I don't think so either. He has the stuff. I mean, he's got 102-mile-an-hour fastball in his back pocket. It's tough to hit that, especially when you have an off-speed pitch like he does, and then that slider. It's got lots of movement. He just doesn't have great control of it. So
No, he doesn't.
if he can control that, if he can start to control that slider and
Yeah.
develop that pitch, he's going to be a true Mitch Keller type, top of the rotation guy. So
Yep.
you can never go wrong with those type of pitchers when you go with the potential. And unfortunately, the A's went with I say unfortunately. I think they kind of went very safe in the first 3 rounds and didn't go for anyone with any top end talent. Number 6, they took Jacob Wilson, a shortstop from Grand Canyon University, and he was projected by many scouts to go late in the first round, potentially in the second round. So I don't know if they started talking to the Raiders draft room or what they're doing there, but
Maybe they're all in the same room. I don't know.
it doesn't
They're
make
all
sense because, well, I don't
they're
know.
all
I
in
mean,
on
maybe
they're
they're
in the
getting
same
back in
group
with their
chat.
Las Vegas buddies. Who knows? So yeah, the first
No,
3 rounds, a lot of the scouts and people that cover these prospects coming up through high school and college were saying, what are the A's doing? Like, none of these guys are going to be big league talent, or if they are, they're going to be like maybe rotational players, bottom of the end rotation pitchers, maybe bullpen. So I don't know. I mean, it's very puzzling. And then it seemed like from round 4 into round 20, we took a lot more guys with the higher upside, but you don't typically get the high end talent in those later rounds. So when you have a pick as high as 6, which we haven't had in quite a while, you need to take advantage of those. And it's frustrating that we had as equal chance at the number 1 pick as we did the number 6 pick, and we end up getting 6. So I don't know. Feels like everything's working against the A's right now, and it's definitely a frustrating time to be a fan. So obviously, I'm not a huge fan of the draft based on people that I trust that cover the prospects coming up. But as always, those people can be wrong, and I hope they are, but we'll see in the long
I
run. So
I actually was really surprised by your guys' pick, mostly because of the way Fisher's trying to play all this off. I thought he might try to knock one out of the park. Say he did make the move, and then just make it more about Oakland's this terrible thing, Vegas is blah blah blah, and then it was just same old, and it's just here we go again.
all right. Well, quickly, I wanted to touch on Shohei Ohtani. I'm sure you saw the chants there in Seattle. They were very much trying to recruit him to come to Seattle.
Yeah.
And
Man.
initially, it didn't look like the Angels. It looked like the Angels were just going to ride him out the rest of the season, and then maybe try to re-enter contract negotiations after he becomes a free agent. I think after their nosedive, I think they lost like 9 of 10 right before the All-Star break. Trout got injured. Shohei came off with a blister when he was pitching. Anthony
old
Rendon.
story.
And then there was one other guy that also got hurt. They've had some good guys like Joe Adele come in, and Mickey, forget his last name, but anyway, they've had some good guys come up from minors and step in and actually make some plays, but obviously they're tanking. So I think they have to measure the value of how many butts Ohtani puts in the stands and what value they're going to get out of that versus if they trade him mid-season, coming up very soon. Obviously, they lose all those fans that would be in the stadium from the Shohei effect. But long term, it's, in my opinion, the better move to trade him because I don't think he's going to re-sign. He's already said in the media, as I think it was this All-Star weekend, he said it sucks to keep losing, especially when we feel like we have a good team. That's never going to change until Artie Moreno's not the owner of that team because he'll invest money in the payroll, but he'll cut money everywhere else that he can, player development, all that stuff that leads up to these guys actually performing. So when you're not building from the draft, you're not building these guys up from the minors, you have no depth. You can only bring in the all-stars that have already proved that they can do it elsewhere, which brings up your payroll. And it's just not a good way to win. You need to have solid foundation before you can slap these Band-Aids on and make them stick. So, is it your opinion that they should trade Ohtani? You think they should hold on to him? Okay.
Mostly, I mean, I don't care about the Angels
I
at
hate the
all.
Angels. I hope they hold on
Um,
to him and just lose him without getting anything
I
back. But
for his sake, I hope he goes somewhere. Um, I don't know.
Seattle would be perfect for
I
him.
would just be happy for him to be anywhere else, somewhere where he could compete. I'd like to see him, in a long playoff run with, regardless of who he's with, for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
I,
If he
it's
goes to
that's
the Astros or something, well, then he can just piss right
see,
off. But
that's what I'm saying. There's a handful of teams like, come on. But I mean, he's the kind of player you want to see him playing in October. You want to see him, going on a long run because he's exciting. I mean, the league wants him. I
yeah,
mean, the MLB should want him playing in a World Series because there's no bigger player in the MLB than him right now. And I mean, we're starting to knock on, like, in the history of MLB. I mean, the things he's doing is remarkable. Um, Regardless of whether we're willing to put him with some of the historical greats. I mean, the numbers aren't lying, and he's doing it for 2 seasons now. Really,
3.
we'll see. Well, I guess 3. Fair enough.
He's been
Um,
building on it every year. And last year
yeah,
he got absolutely robbed. Judge had a great season, but he wasn't MVP.
I know, and I can't wrap my mind around how anyone could not vote for him. But I digress. Different subject. But
Oh, Benny said the Judge was the MVP last year, and he's out of his damn mind. But it's fine. He just doesn't
yeah,
like Ohtani, so that's the only
I
reason he said
think
that.
I just think he's such a generation. I mean,
No, this isn't generational. This is like once in a
this is,
lifetime.
yeah, like, I mean, we may never see anyone do it again,
Well,
or
I
even up to
hope.
the same. I hope we do.
Yeah, I was going to say I hope this leads to
I think it'll open the
MLB seeing
door.
that this is actually possible because I think there's been plenty like Madison Bumgarner. He
Yeah,
was a phenomenal pitcher and he could hit.
and he was a good hitter.
So
But
I
I
think
think
it
it
could be
opens the
done.
door. I really think it opens the door, but I also think it opens the door to every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinking he can two-way.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we'll
They'll
see where
find out
that
real
goes.
quick in Major League
Oh
Baseball
yeah,
that they can't do
absolutely.
it. But
Absolutely. But I mean, this is pretty special. Like, I'm trying to make other sports comparisons. I mean,
you can't.
it really is the equivalent of, like, 90s Bulls, like watching Michael Jordan. It really is.
It
Um,
it would be like Josh Allen also playing
oh yeah, like
MVP
linebacker.
linebacker. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's what it
But
would
I
be
just
like.
I just mean, as far as, like, the actual buzz for the sport.
Yeah.
Like, it's the only thing I can compare it to is when, like, MJ went international and just became this icon. What he's
Well,
doing is just unreal.
can you imagine him being on like the Mets or one of those major media markets rather than tucked away in
Oh man,
Angels
he would
land?
be, and that's the other thing I hate too is he would be. I mean, he's a media darling. He is. He gives fun interviews. He's a good personality. Um, I think he would absolutely, excuse me, absolutely thrive in a market like that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. He's too good of a player. I don't want to see him wasted somewhere like the Angels forever. I don't think it's going to happen. I think regardless whether it plays out or he gets traded, it's going to happen. But
Yeah.
um, man, I just would love to see him have some good playoff runs because
Well,
he's that good. I mean,
him and Trout need to be in the playoff. Like Trout
man,
with his back injury is no
seriously,
longer the player he used
yeah.
to be, but he used to be someone that like you want to see what they can do on the biggest stage.
Mhm.
And obviously against Otani in the World Baseball Classic, he struck out to end the game, but like
Oh man,
he was made for
what
that
a
moment.
finish! Yeah,
Yeah, that was phenomenal. I would love to see him in Seattle just because you obviously have the Ichiro. Ichiro's still there as a
yeah.
coach. You have all those fans that grew to like the Seattle Mariners from Ichiro. They also I can't remember the other guy that they had that was compared to Ichiro just a couple years later.
Oh yeah.
Hit just like him. His name's escaping me. He obviously didn't live up to the expectations of
No,
being
not
the next
quite.
Ichiro, but I mean he was still another international star from Japan that gave that connection to the Mariners, um, and that's where I ultimately think Shohei should be. However, if they can come up with the resources to sign him to a long-term contract, and that's the other thing I wanted to ask you is what kind of contract do you think Shohei commands on the open market? And I think I have the answer, but I want to hear your opinion first because I think if I was a sports agent, I could work this deal out, take my 5%, and then I'd be happy the rest of my life and not have to
Um,
work. But go on.
I'm totally gonna take the easy way out on this, and I don't mean to, but I literally don't know. Like, I don't think there's not like a code you can crack for this kind of a contract. Like, I mean, I don't even know where to start because you can't quantify it. I mean,
Let me throw
if
a
you want
number
to,
at you.
if you really want to, if you want to throw numbers out, you should literally be able to take a top hitter's contract and a top pitcher's contract and double it and stack them together.
Look, old Benny says he's going to the blank Dodgers, which
Oh my God.
I
One of the
think he
few
probably
teams.
is. Uncle Gare Bear would like that, but I don't know if he's
Just
tuned in
make
or
me
not tonight. He
sick.
hasn't made a peep, so I somehow doubt that he's in here because he's rarely in here without making comments. But
The only thing
okay,
I can be certain of is where he's not going. And he's
and
not
that's
going to
Oakland.
Oakland or Pittsburgh.
Okay, Ben said
Uh,
Benny said 750 million for 10 years, and I think that's. I'll tell you why I think that's high. So here's my contract proposal for Shohei Ohtani.
oh boy.
I'm going to give him, if I were a GM, and I don't, like I said, I don't know if he's going to take this. I think this is fair for both sides. So I'm going to give him a 10-year, $550 million contract with 5 years up front at
That's what I was waiting for.
at 70 million per year with an opt-out after the 5th year. So that's 350 million in 5
Mm-hmm.
years. 70 million per year. That's absolutely historic, blows every contract out of the water that's ever been handed
Absolutely.
out. That's giving him 35 million for pitching, 35 million for hitting. And I think he's probably worth more than that, especially with what the butts he's putting in the seats. But this also protects the team because
I was gonna say
long
I like the
term,
deal because is it sustainable? We don't know.
yeah, long term, I don't think he's going to be able to do both. I mean, you always have the possibility of Tommy John, something like that. At that point, he's going to be just hitting. He's not going to be the all-star player on both sides of the mound, or sorry, both sides of the plate. So after that 5 years, if he's still doing it, he opts out. Give him another 5 years at 70 million, or at that point, I mean, maybe 80, maybe 90. I don't know. The way these contracts are ballooning, that gives him
Yeah,
some like historic numbers right up front, and then the possibility of cashing in again if he's able to sustain it. Also protects the team. That cuts it down to 40 million on the back end per year if he's only able to do it from one side. Obviously, that
yeah.
gives him a little bump in the per value if he's only doing it from one side. So that's 10 years, 550 million. Maybe on the back end he's still performing as a DH or whatever, and you can give him another 5 year contract. I doubt that because that would put him up in the 40s by the
Yeah,
end of that
we're
contract.
pushing it.
But
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that? You like that deal?
I actually think I mean there's intellectually it's a sound idea. I mean I get it. Um and it is. It's I hate using the word safe because it's astronomical amount of money, but
Yeah.
it's safe for the player and safe for the team. And that would be my biggest concern as a team, obviously, is okay, you pick him up and he's only got one more year of this in him. Well, shit. you know?
Exactly.
And then the same thing goes for him, though. I mean, he's got to protect himself. He might sign a deal and only have one more year of this, and then shit, show's over.
Yep.
Um, so I mean, but that's my problem. That's why I used to love talking contracts, and modern day sports contracts are so goddamn broken. I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Um, I
I
mean,
mean, can you?
Christian Kirk is all I have to say. I still don't understand how we went down the road we went down in the NFL, but
I mean,
um,
he put up numbers. It's hard
I
to
mean,
argue.
sure, I guess he
Made the
literally
team better.
broke that.
If
But that's
Mahomes
my
is
point.
worth
Is
500 mil, 10
yeah,
years for 20 games, he's worth 75 million per year. I agree.
All
Like I
right.
said,
I mean, that's my hard. The hardest part for me is I just none of it makes sense anymore. But throwing that all out the window, I do think your deal makes sense. I do think he may be somewhere in there. Um, I don't know. I think the biggest thing is probably going to be where he goes. I bet he's willing to take less money if he's going to go somewhere where he can win. Um, I say less money, but obviously not shooting for as high. I mean, we're talking about such a ridiculous amount of money,
well,
but
I mean, if you put it into context of entire teams, that contract, 70
I
million, that would
don't
put
even
him,
stop,
yeah,
stop,
that would
stop,
put him
stop,
above the A's, the Pirates, the,
stop.
I don't know. There's several teams that are below 70 million per
A
year
couple
in
years
payroll.
ago, that would have put him above both of us combined.
Yeah.
I
I mean, it's
mean,
not far off this
whatever.
year.
Well, yeah, we finally bumped up a little bit.
Well, just wait. A's are probably going to deal
Oh
Trevor
man,
May. I would bet they're probably going to trade Fuji. I mean, they're going to trade anyone with decent money. Like, and when I say decent, Trevor May's the highest paid on our roster right now.
like anyone
He's
over $1 million a year.
he's getting 7 million for this year, and then I think the next highest is Aledmus Diaz. He's 2 years and 10 million, so 5 million per year. I mean,
That would be my locker room speech if I was on one of these teams. I'd be like, I want to explain something to you guys. And I would break down his contract if he
yeah,
got that, and then break
Shohei,
down, be like,
Shohei,
this is you
he,
guys.
he's worth
Time to step it
more
up,
than every single one of you
including me,
combined
including my
in this
salary.
entire locker room. He's worth more than this stadium right
Oh my
here. You see,
god.
so yeah.
They're
Anyway,
not even real numbers.
no.
But yeah, no, I think what you put together makes sense. And in 2023 baseball contracts, it's probably not as outlandish as it is in my brain. Um,
Well, and the sad thing is, if he can keep doing it and opts out
oh
after that
God,
5th year, like he's going
cash
to get
in a
100
second
million the next
time.
one. Yeah.
If he is able to do it into a second contract, if say that was the one he went through, oh my God, that boy is going to be set up for life, and so will his children's children. It's a lot of money, man.
It's insane.
I can't even. Whew.
I love thinking about it, and then like maybe he can adopt me since he doesn't have any
Yeah,
kids. I don't know.
I'd be like, I put that idea out into the world.
Maybe he
You're
just signs
welcome.
me as his agent, and then he doesn't even have to adopt me.
Mm.
But okay, so that's all I had MLB wise. Did you have anything else to build off that, or
I just didn't get a chance to talk about it on here. Pittsburgh City Connect jerseys, those
oh
unis,
God,
I love them.
go on.
Love them.
The only
From
thing I
those
don't like,
people, go ahead, and I'll dive in after you.
well, I just don't like the font necessarily, and I still think that they should have went like Pitt instead of PGH. But
Well,
that's my only complaints. I love
I
everything
mean,
else. Love the batting helmets. Love
if you
love
go to
everything.
Pittsburgh, PGH is everywhere. So
I
is the
understand
lettering.
that.
I mean, it's
I just like
literally
Pitt.
iconic. I know, I get it.
I like Pitt better.
But the unis themselves, I mean, I saw some people that weren't fans, and that's fine. Everybody's got an opinion. But all I see when I look at them is literally molten steel. And there's nothing more Pittsburgh than that. I absolutely love them. I love the pants. I know that's a dumb thing to love, but I absolutely love the pants.
I think the
Um,
batting helmets are my favorite thing about the entire thing.
dude, they're beautiful.
I
Um,
we need to
Overall, I just love them.
we need to reassess our City Connect now that more have launched
I
this
was
season.
thinking about this yesterday, actually, that we need to
And
update our list.
the A's, I don't know if they're going to go with Las Vegas, if they're going to do an Oakland one, or maybe they just do like a blank jersey. I don't know yet. We'll see.
Oh, God. Maybe they'll run with the elephant theme, and it'll just end up like a circus tent
No, maybe what they
or
do is
something.
they take a tree on its side and put we're unrooted now. I don't know. I don't know. Something like that.
Oh,
It'd be a
it's like
nice idea.
those
Oh,
whatever fan Wyoming root shirts you always see everywhere, or I guess if you're from here, you see them. I just
yeah.
imagine one of those with these roots that are all just destroyed and uprooted, and just what a
Well,
horrible
after
image.
their whole rooted in Oakland campaign, after the Raiders left Oakland for Las
I
Vegas and
know,
saying,
man.
we're the only team dedicated to staying here. Oh God, that shit. makes my blood boil. Anyway, uh,
Moving on.
well, well, I guess I should say I am going to go see them in a couple weeks in Denver, so that'll be fun. Uh,
Maybe next
Obviously,
year.
yeah. And then we did see the schedule launch, and your Pittsburgh Pirates will be visiting Oakland on April 29th, 30th, and May 1st. So
Might
we're
have to
we're
make that
potentially
work.
potentially looking at that as a
Might be coming live to you from the
from Oakland
Coliseum.
Coliseum. We'll see.
Maybe. Maybe Vegas, but I don't know. Just
I don't
kidding.
know if maybe they have Wi-Fi there. I kind of doubt it, but
I doubt
we'll
it.
we'll see.
Probably got to pay
um,
for it.
okay, and then just quickly, there's obviously not a ton going on in the NFL right now. It's the dog days of summer. They don't have much going on. I will say, they just ESPN just put out an article about the Gruden emails leading to the ousting of Dan Snyder, and everyone believes that those emails were leaked by Dan Snyder and the NFL. Um, John Gruden won his case in terms of avoiding arbitration, so he wants to play it out in the court of law. A lot of other things going on with that case, and obviously the sale of the Washington Commanders is moving along. They're currently going through a patent war for the name of the Commanders, so maybe Washington football team. Maybe we can not call them the commies anymore. That'd be cool. And then
At this point,
with
they're irrelevant anyways, so I don't really
in terms
care.
of the Raiders, not much going on there. Jimmy G's injuries supposedly progressing along. Josh Jacobs' contract, he has until the 17th of July to reach a long-term deal. Otherwise, he'll be subject to the playing on the franchise tag. He has said that he may hold out until even past week one. So obviously, at that point, he would have to start losing some paychecks if he misses any games. So we'll see what happens with that. It's obviously a situation to watch. Saquon Barkley's in the same situation. He hasn't signed his franchise tag. Dalvin Cook is potentially signing with the team soon, and I think that'll give the Jacobs and Saquon Barkley a better idea of what they should be looking for in a contract. If Dalvin Cook doesn't get above the franchise tag dollar of 10 million, I don't think they'll have much to go off of. So I don't think any team's going to be looking to reset the running back market. So I think ultimately Jacobs ends up playing on the franchise tag for 1 year, and maybe when he shows up and shows again that value to the team, maybe they'll extend him. Maybe they'll trade him at the trade deadline if they're already out of the race, which is a possibility. We'll see. We'll obviously
Oh
get down
man,
into our season predictions and all that stuff soon. We'll have the podcast, Fantasy Football League, getting shaped up
yes
here pretty soon.
sir.
So stay tuned for that. Obviously, if you would like to potentially have your name adorned on that beautiful statue next to mine, let's see it, Kyle. There you go. If you'll notice that 2022 champion says Bill Montoya. So I think 2023 is going to say something similar. But if you want
You
to
just stop it.
put your chips at the table, feel free to hit us up. We'll be organizing that very soon. Anything you wanted to talk about Steelers wise?
Um, I mean, nothing really. Like you said, it's kind of a slow part of the year. Old Kenny Pickett's been putting in the work, though. That's the one thing I'll say. People can talk sophomore slump, big jump, whichever way it goes, it's not for a lack of trying on his part. That boy has been active. He has been putting in the work with receivers all summer long. It's what you want to see out of your young quarterback. So for that, I'm pretty excited. Other than that, we got old Joey Porter Jr. still hasn't signed, at least
For real?
since I looked yesterday. I
Man,
think
it's
it's
getting late.
coming. I don't know. I think it's coming. People are freaking out about it, but just believe in the process. He'll be there.
You say there's not
I don't
really
know.
a move for him if he doesn't sign, so
No,
I'm
I mean
sure he
it's not
will.
like it's
It's just
any.
contract crap. So
Yep.
All right, and then last little note I had for NFL is just Hard Knocks is going to feature the New York
Yeah.
Jets this year. So your thoughts?
Well, it's one of the worst fan bases out there. Um, sorry, just kidding.
I don't know any New York Jets fans, but
I actually know a handful of them. One of them, she's a sweetheart. Ed Kaufman's mom, Karen, is a diehard Jets fan. It's the only one that I like.
interesting.
So nod to Karen. But no, it's a hard market, so it's going to be weird seeing that. I don't know. I'm interested to see their own market's reaction to their hard knock, and then the Aaron Rodgers just
That's
absolute
100% why they
shit
got
show.
selected.
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely, but he's such a media nightmare nowadays. I don't know. It's going to be a train wreck. I'm sure. What's his bucket? Zach Wilson will somehow have a moment on there. I don't know. I think it's just going to be a train wreck, but whatever. It's New
But
York. I mean, it's a good market, I guess.
but like all train wrecks, you just can't look away.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it'll probably be good TV. It's just, oh my god.
Zach Wilson's mom isn't a fan. Very nice, Benny. No, I think it's going to be. I don't watch Hard Knocks. I watched it the one year when they had the Raiders, and obviously that's because I had a vested interest. I may tune in. In fact, Aaron Rodgers has definitely grown on me since he started going on the Pat McAfee show.
Oh, he's hilarious. Don't get me wrong.
But yeah, obviously with him comes a lot of everything, and then Zach Wilson being there in the background. Robert Sala coaching for his career essentially. I think this year they went all in on Aaron Rodgers for him. So if he doesn't put up, I don't know if he'll still be there. I did see Quinnen Williams, the big guy, Calamari of Calamari fame.
Yeah.
He is signed up to be a Jet for the next 4 years, $96 million contract. Not bad,
Good
not
contract.
bad. So
Mhm.
anyway, quickly we'll move on to the NBA. It is obviously the summer leagues going on right now. You just had the NBA draft recently. Um, Warriors have had quite the offseason, I will say. Bob Myers decided to step down as the GM of the Warriors, and with that brought the promotion of Mike Dunleavy Jr. Used to be a pretty decent basketball player. Actually like his. I don't know. I feel like Bob Myers has a really good relationship with all the guys in the locker room, but I feel like Mike Dunleavy Jr., being a former player, probably has an even closer relationship with those guys. Now, if that leads to success as a GM, I don't know. I do have based on his moves, some questions. I do think he's been doing a pretty decent job, but he did trade away Jordan Poole and
Yeah.
then re-signed
Bleh,
Draymond to
bleh.
a four re-signed Draymond to a 4 year, $100 million contract, which actually lowered the cap hit and the luxury tax payment. Um, Obviously, they were only wanting to do 3 years, but they tacked on the fourth for the lower annual dollar amount for Draymond. So essentially, they chose Draymond over Jordan Poole in that little spat that they had. And,
Wrong.
well, I don't know. Jordan Poole played so awful this year, like major regression from before they gave him the contract. So I don't know if I'm sure some of it's getting punched in the mouth by a teammate and essentially the team looking the other way and saying, you guys figure it out. I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
some of it was, I got paid. Now I don't have to worry about it as much. So I think either way, Jordan Poole had some maturing to do. And I don't know that I necessarily love that they got rid of him to bring Draymond back. But after seeing how little Jordan Poole contributed in the playoffs and how
Yeah.
much Draymond meant to the team in the playoffs, I think 4 years is too long. So maybe after a couple of years, they'll break it all up. In fact, Steve Kerr is only under contract for one more year. Steph is only under contract for this year and next, I believe. Chris Paul, he's got 1 year left on his deal after this year, which they obviously traded for him. And the fact
Mm.
that The fact that they gave up trade capital to trade away Jordan Poole and then traded capital for Chris Paul
Yeah.
definitely made me scratch my head. I definitely question the fit. I love Chris Paul, but obviously I think he's 38 this year.
Yeah.
Um, he doesn't play good defense. He's small. How he's going to be on the court with Steph at the same time when both of those guys are quote unquote undersized in the NBA at this point. Um,
Yeah.
I
I
seriously doubt that's going to be a
when
great fit.
when I saw this trade go through, I legit thought it was a joke. Like I thought it was
Well,
the fake things that pop up all the time
I I thought that they were trading for him and then it was going to be
to
like
send him somewhere
sort of
else.
flipping thing, kind of like what the Wizards did to when they obtained Chris Paul. He wasn't on there very long, got flipped to the
No.
Warriors. I thought it was going to be part of a bigger move to reshuffle this, but like they said, no, he's here to stay. And we thought, well, they said Jordan Poole was here to stay a couple days ago, and then they just traded him. So I don't know. We were trying to read the tea leaves, and apparently he's going to stick. They printed out his number 3 jersey. He's been in the building. He's been sitting with Steph
Uh,
courtside at the summer games. Um,
I
so
got nothing.
apparently we're going to try it. I don't know. Like I think if the move was to bring him off the bench with the second unit, he's an upgrade over Jordan Poole at this point in his career. He can definitely run an offense. He's done it for his entire career. He's one of the best point guards to ever play the game of basketball. But if it's to put him in tandem with Steph Curry to be on the court at the same time, I don't see that working out because Steph has become almost a good defender, but before he was a defensive liability, and Chris Paul at this stage in his career is a defensive liability. So having those
Oh
two
yeah.
as subpar defenders, even especially having if you're having Steph or Chris Paul cover a shooting guard, that's going to be a mismatch right there. And then either way, I mean, if you have Steph guarding point guard, okay, then it's trade off. But if you have Steph guarding a shooting guard, not great. So I don't like the fit unless it's with the thing in mind to this is a short term contract essentially. Let's see what we can do in these next 2 seasons that we have everyone locked up for. Hopefully win 1 or 2 more championships, and then we'll reassess after the fact. But Chris Paul's contract is tradable, so that
Oh
is
yeah.
one. That is one. I guess if it's not working, maybe by the trade deadline they flip him. But they did bring in Saric, which I'm probably brutalizing that name, which is a former teammate of Chris Paul. He's the only other guy that's got any size, so I'm still worried that we're very undersized at center and power forward when we have just Draymond, Looney, and now Saric, and then they brought in Corey Joseph as a bench swing man. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm definitely nervous for this upcoming season. I hope that Kerr gets an extension at least through Steph Curry's contract, and then we'll hold on like hell and hope for the best for the next 2 seasons to see what happens. What's going on
Yeah.
with your Magic?
Really not a whole lot. It's kind of the same old story. We got, very, very young roster. That's why it was kind of weird going into the draft. Less about who we picked and more about the fact that we picked where we still ended up picking. Um, I don't know. We have such a weird team right now because it's literally nothing but young talent, and it's the draft has become a weird thing to navigate because of it. I don't know. It's almost like we have enough of that. I'd like to see us start bringing in some veteran players and hopefully maybe start turning the corner. Um, I don't know. It's weird. We'll see. I guess we'll see where we're at this year. I feel like we made some jumps last year. Some players really, obviously Banchero and some of the other guys
Hey,
really made some jumps. But
got the returning rookie of the year. So
oh yeah, oh yeah. Which I mean, I think that was a pretty safe bet, anyways. Which I mean, some people doubted when we took him, so I thought that was a pretty cool prove it year for him. Um, I don't know. It's a lot of unknowns for the Magic still, which has kind of been same old last few seasons. But It was just kind of funny paying attention to the draft because it's almost kind of like meh, because we have so many young players. It's I'm sure it's a weird locker room too. I mean, it's nothing but young players. Um,
It's
I
crazy.
don't know.
Like it
Yeah.
feels like you guys have had, the young, promising roster every year for the last 5, 10 years, but it never
Dude,
turns into
all the
anything.
way
So,
back to when we drafted Oladipo. I mean, we were
yeah.
doing the same stuff then. It's kind of just been over and over and over. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Right. Well,
That's
with
all I
that,
can say.
you got anything else you wanted to say before we cut it?
It's just good to be back on. Like to obviously, like we talked about, get back to the regular recordings and maybe some events. Get back to having some people on, and looking forward to fantasy football. Talking about the new NFL season as well. Just good to hop on and do it again.
Beautiful. All right. And with that, we do thank you guys for tuning in. Always appreciate the comments. Some of them are definitely hilarious.
Yes,
We'll
yes,
get you
yes,
guys
yes,
more
yes.
involved, and like I said, keep an eye out for the fantasy football. We'll start posting about that soon. Drafts coming up probably in the next month or so, and then
Mm-hmm.
football kickoff. I think we have less than, what is it, like 60 days before actual games start or something like that.
Yes,
Must be less than that because I think it
it's
starts
less
the
than
first
that.
week. Yeah, first week of September. So we're coming in on less than 2 months to football, which means the summer is quickly slipping away and turning into fall. Although tomorrow is supposed to be the hottest day of the year, or maybe
Oh my
Saturday. I
God.
can't remember. Um, so thank you guys for tuning in as always. Appreciate the feedback, and we will catch you on the next episode.